Okay, we live. Hello, everybody. Kia ora. Welcome. I'm back for our 10th session today with in the series of education providers, bringing you the best from the country and bringing you the best people from those providers to be able to have a conversation. My name is Arunima, and I am being joined by Annie. Annie Go from Lincoln University, who's the international manager. Annie, thank you for joining us and welcome.
Thank you. This is a
Thank you.
great opportunity. I was
Thank
waiting
you.
and waiting for the phone call.
No, we save the best for the last, isn't it? That's why you give you the big number 10. That's the big lucky number. So we save the
I
best for the
know.
last. Yeah,
Well, the
absolutely.
number 10, I just share a little bit of secrets. That's the day of the date of birth is
Oh,
the
well,
10th.
well, there you go. I
Yeah.
didn't know that, but I've got some magic to my madness here. So today, guys, those of you that are joining us, I've had a good conversation with Annie offline, and I've had a really good thought about how I want to structure the session today because there's so many providers, there's so many courses, and there's just so many options. So we want to try and really bring it all together. For those of you that don't know, we are education and immigration partners with the Lincoln University. I've known Annie for a good 15 years, 14 years. I think it just feels like I've been around for such a long time because everybody I say is like, oh, 14, 15 years. So we're going to obviously pick on Annie's brains, ask her all the questions about the courses. Annie, just to set the scene for you, and we haven't discussed this sort of offline, but I really want to try and give some options to people that are in New Zealand through the session. I know that the borders will open up eventually. We'll talk about the offshore courses, and we might have a follow-up session. But today, I want to try and exclusively talk about some courses that are starting in the November intake. I do want to concentrate on the master's courses because I know that Lincoln's got some one-year masters. A lot of people have got their visas expiring on the 25th of September, which were extended because of the epidemic notice. And a lot of those people are now looking at upskilling because of the tightening of the labor market. And I think this session comes at a perfect time because those people are now thinking about what to do with themselves and the visas and the immigration situation. So, Annie, can you please tell us that, the main intakes for Lincoln are July and February, but there are some November intakes. So can you please tell us the courses that are in the November intake?
Yeah, sure. We do have 6 programs that are ready to accept students for November intake. So today maybe we'll focus on 3 that might be really useful for students. I just
Yeah.
want to say that in this situation, it's really important to stay calm, seek advice professionally, like what we're having now, but also don't feel discouraged by figures. It's important to stick um, to to be true to yourself, and also take this opportunity to just if it's upskilling, professional development. If you want to do it, invest in the second career, do it well. Yeah, don't
Absolutely.
just choose something that you think it's a quick fix. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think that's spot on because a lot of people, and I know that, it is hard, like COVID has been hard on
yeah,
all of us, but I think it's especially hard in certain industries. You've got tourism, you've got hospitality, you've got retail. And I think those people that did sort of those low level business courses or they came in to do like, the general business courses may not be able to find those niche and they may be looking at upskilling themselves. So we're going to get into those courses, Annie, but
yeah,
just for me to take a step back, I just want to tell people that Lincoln University is based out of Christchurch. And, as an immigration practitioner for many years, one of the things that I consistently tell my clients is that if you are looking at seeking employment outside of Auckland, it's best to start outside of Auckland. And I think studying into a course which is based outside of Auckland is a perfect start. Annie, can you just tell us why Lincoln? Like, I mean, obviously for people that are following us, there's so many options, so many courses, and I know I've asked you this earlier. So why Lincoln, and why would people think that this is the right solution for them?
I think there are a couple of things I want really like about Lincoln University. One thing is we are a specialist university. So what we do it very well. We focus on 3 key faculties areas. We have Faculty of Agriculture and Life Sciences, Faculty of Environment, Society and Design, and also Faculty of Agribusiness and Commerce. So we rank top 400 in the world, and so for a university that only had 3,000 students at any time of the year, to achieve this kind of ranking is amazing. And we ranked 18th in the small university category. So about 1,000 students are from that enroll at Lincoln University are from overseas, so from about 70 different countries.
That's
So this
fantastic.
kind of like we do actually have really good, strong reputation internationally. The other thing that I really love about Lincoln is that we have really good academic staff to students ratio. So essentially, our staff to student ratio is one academic staff to about 12 students. That is really amazing and
And I
remarkable
think
in the
that
university sector.
that is quite an important thing, and I just want to reiterate that fact because a lot of people are actually quite scared about going to a university because it's overwhelming. The classes are big, and it's they don't get that sort of one-on-one approach, and it becomes really big and massive, and they feel like they're lost in the crowd. And I think that's where this point that you've just made is quite a unique space for Lincoln University, because of your teacher to student ratio, which is what you're telling us, it's 1 to 12. That's really unique for a university, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And
um
also our history with the agriculture sector. So I mean,
yeah.
during the COVID lockdown, you think about this. Well, apart from, I mean, the health sector, the the essential workers, they are fantastic. But what's the so you think about the how do we shift food to the supermarket, and then to be that whole agriculture value change, that is where Lincoln University's strengths are. And our graduates worked in the agriculture sector, supply chain sector. It's just, it makes me really humble working for universities that really
And
matters.
I think you've just touched on a really good point. I mean, I was gonna, normally when I'm talking to clients and I'm offering consultations to students, I'm saying, okay, well, we just had a session yesterday which was about international education. How do you align yourself? And the whole goalpost needs to shift, because it's no longer this is what you've done and this is what you're going to study, because it matches. That whole goalpost is shifting. So and now that you've just talked about agriculture, I mean, obviously, we as New Zealand, agriculture contributes to what, 5% of the country's total GDP. And I think through COVID, we know that there's attempts to try and increase that, put more structure into the agriculture industry. So that's obviously an industry that will have growth, and Lincoln is sort of predominantly the leading university in that space. And I think that's something that I want people to sort of really take away. They are specialists. So you've talked about specialist university, you've talked about agriculture. What are the other specializations, Annie?
Um, I just think if we are looking at, say, November intake, for example, then we have three kind of unique programs that might be suitable for students who are looking at upskilling. So we have a Master of Business in Global Management and Marketing, Master of Business in Finance, and we soon will be launch a new program that is going to be like, we're nearly getting the approval. It's called Master of Applied Computing. So that particular program I absolutely love, because it's looking at allowing students who wants to make a difference, who wants to look at total change of career, want to work in the IT industry, but maybe coming from a totally different background, looking at second chance opportunity, professional development. That is a fantastic program because it's a studio based um, internship integrated program.
So if we're getting into the programs, Annie,
Yeah.
I'm just sort of trying to kind of get into it one by one. So we're talking about the November intake. It's for people that have got the visas expiring on the 25th of September, looking, have no other options, looking at getting into courses. A lot of them have families here. They've got children going to school, they've got spouses here. And for them, at this stage, to go back to their home country is not really ideal, because New Zealand is at a place where we are being looked upon by the rest of the world. I really want to talk about the Masters of Business course, and I'm going to try and sort of delve deeper into these courses. So the Masters of Business course, now that course is a year or a year and a half course. Um,
So
a-
yeah.
how does it become year or a year and a half? How does that differ?
So for students starting in November, they are studying when the other students who started in November in February or July, well, those students are on holidays. So the from between February and November to February, they are doing kind of the content, and then it's fast track. So they don't have long holidays. They will have the breaks
Ah.
in between semesters, but it's hard work. But 1 year you're out of there. So
So if someone starts in February, they can finish it within a year.
so for students who are starting in February or July, it will take them 18 months with the
A year and a
November
half.
with the summer break. For students starting in November, then they're studying when the other students are on holidays. So
Ah,
it's
I
a
get
fast
it.
track. Yeah.
And that makes perfect sense because a lot of those people that are within New Zealand are looking at a November intake. They wouldn't wait till
Yeah.
February. And so they've got the opportunity to finish this course within a year. And I think for someone that's a returning student, that is quite a big deal. They've already studied,
Yeah.
they've been here for a few years, and instead of showing a year and a half living expenses, they can show 1 year living expenses. They can get onto the post-study work visas. So guys, if you get onto a master's again, I can confirm to you that you will get a 3-year open work visa again. So some really good options. Now the next
I have a
question on this.
question.
Sure, go ahead.
Sorry. So for master students, would the spouse be eligible to
Yes,
work?
yes, absolutely.
What
So if
about the
someone takes
children?
So when someone takes a master's course, the children can go to school, domestic fees, and the spouse can remain on an open work visa. Post study, they get a 3-year open work visa during which the spouse again remains on an open work visa, and the children can continue going to school at no fees as a domestic student. So there's obviously, really it's great for people that have been here and are really looking at using this time to upskill themselves. So they're ready for the economy when things pick up. So that's a really good point, Annie. What I want to ask you is, often we are asked questions around scholarships. So these people that have been here, obviously pockets are tight. Are there any scholarships available for
So
any of
for the
these for this program?
yeah, they are. So for both for the Master of Business in Global Management and Marketing and the Master of Business in Finance, the fees is 42,750 in total for the whole 3 semesters. But if their final year of their bachelor degrees if they did achieve B plus average, so the last 2 semesters of their bachelor degree, B plus average, they will automatically get a 10,000 merit scholarship. So they don't have to apply. It will come as part of the offer if they meet the scholarship
So my question is,
requirement.
does the bachelor's need to be done within a few years, like in the last 4 years, in the last 5 years? Or is there a time frame of when the bachelor's needs to have been completed?
No. So when you're looking at so there is no time limit, but when you apply, say for example through your company, it's important that they show the results for first year, second year, and third year. And the fourth year, for example. So for both programs, they are designed for students from any disciplines. So they can be from any background. Yeah. But if
Also,
they,
you
for
don't
example,
have to be from a bachelor's or a BCom or a BBA or a business
no,
background to get into the master's. So how does
no.
that work? Because most masters would require someone from the same background. So that's fantastic. I mean, you'll have people from different bachelor's degrees in New Zealand got on the wrong course and they're looking at getting into studying. So you could have any background and get into this master's. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes. So this is what we call the 180 credit top masters. So for these 2 programs, the first semester, they will study 4 business fundamental courses. So it's fast track, build their business foundations, and then they get into their specialist programs courses. So the students who started for both programs, the first semester they'll be sharing the same class, but when they get to the following 2 semesters, they will then branch into, if you're interested in global management and marketing, you might get into subjects like managing program for change, supply chain management, managing marketing strategies. And then for the but finance students, they might be looking at investment opportunity, that kind of banking. So, but then they will, at the last course, they will come back together and study 6 weeks together, but they'll be focusing on business analysis. It's like a capstone project. So they'll do a lot of they'll work together and do a lot of case studies. So right now, for example, Professor Christopher Gunn, who is teaching the course, he is getting the students to analyze case business cases post COVID. how do you provide business solutions? Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay. And so there's an is there an internship component in the course itself?
there isn't an internship component, but there is what we call is more case studies, fast track kind of focus. It's more focusing on problem solving and how do you deal with the current issues using what you have studied. And it's a good idea to work as a team because professionally you have to work with people across different disciplines to and different departments to deal with the situation. I mean, we do
Fantastic.
have all the universities and the ITP sectors in New Zealand, you will have access to the career services, career centers. So we do work with the Canterbury Economics Development Corporation called Christchurch NZ. So they will come and give us, they will kind of help us to update the students on what the employment kind of
Okay.
situation is like within the region. Previously, we have the Job Ready program, which is currently on hold because of the COVID situation. But I was just going to say that, like for example, our career services is working with Christchurch and ZEC to look at 2 workshops in the end of this month to help our graduates looking at employability
Okay,
post-COVID.
that's
Yeah.
brilliant. So, I mean, just to sort of reiterate, so you've got the masters, 1 year masters if you start in November. There's scholarships if you've got a bachelor's with B plus. Doesn't matter when the bachelor's was done. And there's options. Obviously, the spouse gets an open work visa. The kids can go on to study in domestic fees. And so the next question that I often get asked, and there's a question that's being asked here as well, is there an option for people? So, when they come from offshore, they have to pay for the entire fees, entire year upfront, and they get the 1 year visa. Within New Zealand, we've done visas for a long time where you can pay in installments and paid by the semester, and you get the visa for the semester. But that's easier on the pocket because then they can, reuse their living expenses for the next semester. Is there an option for them to pay in that payment plan?
Yeah, our finance departments are actually very they're very human. So
That's good to know.
I mean, we will ask for permission, and so you just need to let us know in advance. The students are able to pay by semester, then we will get approval from our finance department. I think for us, it's important that we help students to achieve their profession development opportunities. We do understand that it's quite hard to fund if you don't get the scholarship for whatever reasons. It's quite hard to front out 42,750 in one
But
go. I
but I also think,
I
I
don't
also
have that in my bank.
No, but I know that people, that have been saving for years because, international education is a really big deal. But I think also a scholarship is almost like boosting your morale and your confidence in knowing that, you can get it and your friends didn't get it and you've got the grades, and it's that recognition of your caliber. So I personally find it fantastic, even if it's a small amount, because that appreciates a student's credibility. Perfect. So that sort of now takes me to this other course that we want to talk about for November. So that's a more specialist course, Annie, that we're talking about the Masters in Finance. I want to know what's the duration of this one and what kind of people do you normally accept for this course?
For the Master of Business in Finance?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Again, that is designed for students from any disciplines. So it's a conversion masters. Students can be from any background. But to be fair, I do say that students, you do need to be good with numbers. You want to like the numbers. If you're like me, I'm very
me, I
passionate
don't like
about the
numbers.
business strategies. Numbers, I can do numbers, but I'm not good at it. So I'm better to
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, and that's really good advice, because we want these people that are getting into these courses, putting their lifetime savings to be able to be a success at it. There's no point getting into a course that you're going to fail or set them up to fail. The other one then, so what are the outcomes normally? Like, is this program already running? Where are these students being placed? Do you have any stats or any details on employability or where these people have been placed in these courses?
It's I think I don't have the kind of the specific details because we have been running this program in the last 5 years. Students, I just want to take a step. I'm not answering your questions directly, but I just want to take back about the myth about use employability and job hunting. So there's one thing that's important. You in each of the students it's very different, even though you're in the same class. So when you search for jobs, your one is your undergraduate qualification plus your master's. That is one thing. Then the other thing is about your personality, your whether you can link yourself to that particular culture. Of when I say culture, is that particular company's culture,
That's right.
and how confident you are, and also your how you present yourself. This is why we have the we work with our career services with Crushes in Zig about the job ready program up till now, because up till now we had kind of like opportunities for our students to use internship opportunities through that channel, but because of COVID we couldn't quite use it. um so what I'm saying is that you might be from engineering background. You do a master of business in global management and marketing. So when you finish your study, you go back and actually you might go back to an engineering firm, but focusing on the developing of a business. You might become a business development manager, or you might be coming from a accounting background. You do your master of business in finance. Then you might go into a bank, become a business analyst. You might go into a investment company looking at portfolio
Hmm.
investment. So because of that, it's actually quite hard to link. Say you study this, it's
Yeah.
unlike our Master of Science in Food Innovation. You study our food science, you get into food science industry because that is a very technical specialist program. But
Yeah.
this is more generic. So whatever you do, you combine your it's like an onion. Your
That's
layer
right.
of your experience make you unique to a particular job, and
And I
not
think we've kind of
everybody.
hit I
Yeah.
think you've hit the nail on the head, because that's something we had a session yesterday on exactly this. We were talking about international education and what
Mm,
people really need to think when they're looking at this course. Because I mean, often I'm talking to these people that are overseas and they've got just a completely different idea about New Zealand, the job market. And we're like, well, it's
mm,
not that. It's the soft skills. It's skills that, you don't learn in a textbook. It's skills that you learn from other places. And that's, and I'm really glad that you've touched upon that, employment support and career support, because I've actually seen that venue and I've visited your campus, and I've been and I've seen the library and I've seen all of that. So I think it's fantastic. I've seen, the little room where those people sit and they have one-on-one counseling. So I think that's what the deal breaker is, isn't it? That's what's really important, that adds those soft skills.
yeah. I think the other thing you asked me previously about the why Lincoln, right? I think one thing is that if you are one of 3,000 students, if you are good, we know you very quickly. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
not one of 50,000.
You're not lost in the crowd, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is what, yeah.
I'll give an example. It's quite interesting. One of my students from Jovan, he's from Mumbai. So I interviewed him when I was in India in October last year, and he started his master in November because you're yeah. Anyway, so I think about maybe December or January. I can't remember now. There was Crushes and Zig was calling their internship opportunities for digital marketing. And because I interview him, I kind of remember, that's Jovan has got that background. So I sent it to him and say, you know, apply if you want, if you are keen. And he did. I mean, it's not me, it's actually his ability, because his work experience in India he was already in the digital marketing space. But for him, he just needed somebody to tell him. And
That's
a
right.
lot
You just
of
need that one foot in the door, isn't it? You just need that one
yeah,
step in the door.
yeah, and a lot of the New Zealand businesses and opportunities, they are not there is the underneath, they're not on the surface. Yeah.
That's right.
And so he's getting paid to do his internship. And through the lockdown, I caught up with him. He's like he was still able to maintain his 20 hours. I mean, when he first applied for that job, he didn't expect to get paid. So he
That's
just
great.
wanted to have
Okay.
some
And
experience.
I think that's what sticks with me. I think there's a few things, Annie, that you said that are kind of stuck in my head, and I think people that are listening, it'll be stuck in their head as well. And I think it's the fact that because it's a smaller place, there's more love and care, and there's more looking after you, and you're not lost in the crowd, which is exactly what's important. Annie, I do want to talk about agriculture because I can see some questions that are coming about agriculture, and it would be absolutely an incomplete session if I do Lincoln University and do not talk about agriculture. Now, I know that we've talked about there'll be a few people. There's a few people that have joined us that are not in New Zealand. They're offshore. They're wanting to get into agriculture. So there's a few courses. Can you just take us through the range of courses in agriculture, and if you really need to be from agriculture to get into those courses, or how does it work? Can you change your field?
Oh, how much time do we have?
Well, I can give you all night, but we will leave something for the next session. So let's give it another 3 minutes maybe, and let's find out where the agriculture sits with Lincoln and what kind of students are you looking at?
So, if I take a step back and say agriculture, so if you come from a non-science background and you want to get into agriculture science, then it's better to start with a graduate diploma, because the reality is if you are going to learn the science behind agriculture, animal science, soil science, plant science, etc., you do need to come from, if you have already had a bachelor degrees, then the graduate diploma is a good way to start. Unfortunately, it's not the news you want to hear. But look, if you don't know the science behind the science, and if you are a Bachelor of Arts in history, you want to get into agriculture science, you do need to have that basic
Yep.
science background. So the graduate diploma in applied science will be a good way to start. But
And
if
that
you are
requires with a science background to get in, isn't it? You kind of need to understand and pass the course, isn't it? If you can't understand the terminology because you've done commerce, would that be setting a student up to fail, or would that not even meet the entry requirement?
So graduate diplomas is designed for students to change discipline. The
Okay.
reality is, if you have a bachelor degree, you have the ability to learn. So if you want to learn, there's nothing to stop you at the graduate level, and you should be able to. If you, this is, I think, learning. I think there's one thing about New Zealand education which I really love, is that if you really want to learn, if you are prepared to put in the effort, there's nothing to stop you from learning. But you do need to be realistic about, the level. So if you come from a BCom wanting to do a Bachelor of Master of Agriculture Science, of course your application will be declined.
Yeah.
Because you don't have that the science background to be able to do the research in the Master of
Masters,
Agriculture
yeah.
Science. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Preet is asking us a question, and he's asking that he's got a BCom background. Can he actually get into the grad dip in agriculture? And that's what I really want to know. So from a
Yeah.
BCom, can you actually move and shift into a grad dip?
We can definitely consider his application for the graduate diploma in applied sciences, which will allow him to choose courses from subjects like food science, agriculture science, horticulture science, environmental science courses. So or he could, if he really wants to, he could do our viticulture and oenology, which is the grapes, to do with grapes and winemaking. Yeah.
And they are in
And
the skill shortage list as well, those courses. Those occupations from those courses are in the skill shortage list.
my
Yeah,
favorite.
yeah, of course, all of our favorites. You're in New Zealand, you need to love viticulture. We all love wine here. So with the grad dip, so that's great. You can get in from any other background. Obviously, if you're from science, it's preferable. And then the second option is the masters, isn't it? So for
Yeah.
a masters, what kind of background are you looking at for a student?
So there are a kind of a few scenarios. So for students who come from if you already have a Bachelor of Agriculture or Horticulture from your home country, then your options at Lincoln is quite a lot. So you could look at, if you want to get a combination of technology, data, and agriculture, you can study our Master of Precision Agriculture. This is just, we're talking about background, not necessarily the percentage. I'm just, assuming that you meet the percentage requirement. You could look at Master of Management, possibly in agribusiness, You could also look at subjects like Master of Science in Food Innovation if you want to become a get involved in the food industry.
Food technology, and that is in the occupations and the outcomes from that Masters of Science in Food
Yeah,
Innovation leads you to become a
yeah,
food technologist and all of those, and they are in the long-term skill shortage list. Those occupations are known to be an absolute skill shortage in New Zealand. So
yeah.
just for me to understand, so the Masters in Agriculture, the course, the Masters Science, is that a year or a year and a half course? How long is?
So the Master of Science in Food Innovation, that is a 3-semester, 12-month study. Yeah, so it's 1 year,
Oh,
but it's back-to-back study. You start either February or July, and it's a 12 months. So you also study during summer. The
ah.
Master of Precision Agriculture is the same. You start in February, you finish by the following February.
Just for
The
me to
master,
understand,
yeah,
Annie. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. And for the we do have a Master of Agriculture Science or Master of Horticulture Science. Those are 2 years research masters. You might be better if you want to just do a 1 year studies. If you come from agriculture, you might want to consider a postgraduate diploma in agriculture science. If you come from a horticulture background, you might want to go into if you want to continue to do research later on, then you might look at the postgrad in horticulture science.
I've got
The
a
Master of
question for you.
Management in yeah.
So if someone's actually done a Bachelor's of Science, say from India, sitting in
Mm.
India, and they're looking at pursuing a career in agriculture, what is the course that you? So this person is someone who doesn't have a work experience. They've done the Bachelor's of Science, maybe in chemistry or food biology or whatever, and they're wanting to get into the next course. What is which course would you actually recommend them? Because I'm struggling to understand the difference between the precision agriculture and the Master of Science in Agriculture. So just talk us through it, please.
Okay, the Master of Agriculture Science it's a 2 years research masters. So we do need you to come from an agriculture science background to be able to conduct the second year of the research.
Research.
And that you do need to have a research interest. You really need to know what you want to get on. And New Zealand's kind of agriculture areas, our research is mainly focused on dairy, um, meat, sheep and cattle. So it's more in these two areas. But if you're looking at, say, for example, a coursework master, top master that doesn't have a huge amount of research, and you're not interested in PhD, then you could look at subjects like MSc for innovation if you want to get into the food science industry, because that is designed for students coming from microbiology, biology, food, agriculture, horticulture, zoology, botany. Those, as long as in your undergraduate degree you have a strong foundation in microbiology, biology, then you can be admitted for this program. The other thing is coming from engineering background, agriculture engineering, horticulture science, but you want to get into the future of agriculture. So you wanted to be smarter, you want to continue to be involved in the agriculture production industry, but it's looking at sustainability, profitability, understand the data so that you invest, for example, the right fertilizer in the right space. So precision agriculture is important. And if you search for jobs, it may not be really obvious on the job market, but it is a job, it is a employment, it is, should I say, an industry for the future. Because you think about the climate change, you think about the COVID, for example. Um, if we don't use technology and be smart about agriculture production then we don't have food,
That's
right?
right.
If we
Yeah.
don't have, yeah, and we all want to eat. We all have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And this is why we need the food science students, because they also need to look at when we produce the food, the crops, how do we preserve them or innovate them so that we don't waste food. Yeah. So
I
food
think
security
that's
and
really
food safety
valuable.
is very important. Yeah. Yeah. And it
That's
will be
good. That's
becoming
really
more
valuable.
important.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'll let you
That's
talk.
okay. Yeah, you continue.
No, so I think that's really valuable because we are sort of not just looking at the courses, but we're looking at sort of like funneling into the courses and funneling out, and where that
Yeah.
industry sort of sits within the New Zealand landscape. I know that we weren't going to talk about this course, but I really want to just, because of for people listening, and they will listen in the future that look at this video, um, does the university offer any cross credits? Because there could be students sitting overseas doing a bachelor's of science, and I know that with New Zealand and how attractive New Zealand is right now to the world, a lot of parents would be looking at their children coming and sort of continuing the bachelor's degrees here. And I know that Lincoln University offers a bachelor's of food science. So if you had a student that's sitting, say, for example, in Southeast Asia somewhere, doing a bachelor's of food science in their home country, and they've probably done a year, and they want to really transfer over and finish the rest of the 2 years, is there an opportunity for them to be able to get cross credit for what they've done so they can
Yeah.
continue over and not start over again?
Yeah. So for students, so the universities often will ask the students to apply for what we call advanced standing. So what we'll look at is what they've studied, the content of their study, and sometimes they can be cross-credited into what we call the non-specific electives or the specific electives. So we could allow students to up to 1 year of
A
the
maximum of 1 year.
yeah. So unless or with some universities where we have agreement, then it could be up to 2 years. But normally speaking, it could we look at like without looking at the content, I think it could be up to 1 year, depending on what the students have studied.
So that's
Yeah,
fantastic because that is an option definitely for them to, continue the bachelor's
yeah.
degree rather than restart. And just for our understanding, how long does the RPL, the cross credit process, normally take? So when if they are looking, say, for example, at a February intake, and hopefully the board is open and the things start moving and life's a bit more normal by then. When do you think? How long does that RPL process? Because I know the admission process roughly takes about 4 weeks maximum, three to 4 weeks, is it?
For bachelor degree, we are actually quite fast.
Oh,
I have two fantastic colleagues, Miyoko and Carol. They are fast. So if you submit an application with the right documents for undergraduate qualification for undergraduate bachelor degree, sometimes they could just turn around an application within a day.
whoa.
If but we normally say to students maybe up to 2 weeks, but we can for undergraduate we can really turn it around within a week. So we might give you a conditional offer first, and they will ask you to provide your course outline and the content of the courses, and that assessment then that may take up to a month, depending on what
Okay, so about
information you
4 weeks
provided.
for the RPL process. So about five
Yeah,
5 to 6 weeks for the entire admission process,
yeah,
including RPL. I think that's a good number to have. So I mean, there's obviously a lot of things I want to talk about. We can't really get into all of it because our session was going to be 35 minutes. We've kind of gone 2 minutes over, which is always a good sign. But I think the key message that I want to leave today is for those of you that are within New Zealand that are looking at upskilling themselves. They've got spouses, they've got kids studying in schools. Christchurch would be a great place to kind of reskill yourself and retrain. And Lincoln does offer November intakes. There's some fantastic scholarships that Annie's talked about. For those of you that haven't heard, please go through the entire video because you can get those details. If you have any questions, absolutely contact us and one of our team members can help you. And we can help you with finding the right course for you, getting you the visa sorted, plus getting the visa sorted for the entire family. And we'll also throw in the career options in there. Annie, look, I thank you so much. You're obviously this treasure box of information and knowledge because you've been in the industry for such a long time. Is there anything that you want to talk about before we wrap this up? We will have you back because we've got so much more to cover.
yeah. I do want to say that I actually shared it with some students recently. I just want to say that time is tough. Please stay calm. So when over the years I've seen two type of people dealing with challenges, and I experienced the Christchurch earthquake in 2011. So I remember when we finished when we had the earthquake, I thought, oh, how are we going to, live? Will life ever be the same again? And in that 1 year, there were opportunities for students who decided to stay with Christchurch. And our international students, they had the best time, and they also got a lot of part-time jobs.
That's
Like the
right. I
part-time
know
jobs
that for sure.
opportunities was really cool. And it really builds their resilience, and it allows them to build their future career from that experience. So my suggestion is I know that sometimes it is tough, but life is tough, whether we
Yeah,
like it or not. Yeah,
that's right. And in the time of adversity comes opportunities, isn't it? So here
yeah.
we go. So with that, Annie, look, thank you so very much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have a chat with you. There's always so many conversations that flow. And until we have you back again to have more conversation with us, we wholeheartedly thank you for your time. See you later,
And be
guys.
positive.
Absolutely be positive. Thank you.